The day of new things. We have the beginning of a new church season with, of course, the first Sunday of Advent, the beginning of the new lectionary cycle year. Lots of new things happening. And so church, of course, has Mustard Seed Sunday where the kids are invited to sit up here. And one of the perils of being a priest's daughter is that if you're the only kid, you sit up here. But Lucy, I think, is enough like her daddy that she doesn't mind being in front of people, right? Yeah. So I'd be curious, Lucy, do you notice anything different about church today?
But you're wearing a different outfit.
I'm wearing a different outfit. I topped that. Good job. That's right. I'm wearing our Advent blue outfit. You know, these are actually the oldest vestments that our church has. They're antique. They're older than your daddy. It's pretty old, right? Yeah. Is there anything else that's different in the church today, did you notice?
There's a little microphone right there.
There's a little microphone right there, right, so that we could hear Mary when she played her pretty music. Good. Anything else that's different?
There's a tree.
There's a tree in church. That's kind of silly, isn't it? That tree, of course, is because we're getting ready for what's coming in a few weeks? What holiday? I don't remember. Christmas. That's what we're getting ready. Advent's getting ready for Christmas. So the tree, and so what you're going to watch is each week, that tree's going to be a little different. First we get the tree, then some lights, then some decorations as we get ready for Christmas. I wonder if there's anything else different in the church today that's not normally here. Do you want to see if anyone out there knows? Does anyone out there see anything else different in the church? Yeah, go ahead, Kelly. Look up. What's that? Candles. We've got the Advent wreath up, right, with the first candle lit for the first Sunday in Advent. And the service is a little different today too, isn't it? Did anyone notice what's different about the service today? Right one, right? So these and thous, and you're going to watch Daddy try to twist his tongue around all those words. And we also sing for Advent, right, which is different as well. There's a lot of reasons I like using right one in Advent. For some people, right one is what they grew up with when they were little kids going to church. And so it's kind of nostalgic and it brings back good memories. And Advent's a time when we kind of look back a little bit as well. I also like using right one in Advent because I think it forces us to pay attention. I don't know about you, but sometimes I get a little bored in church. Do you ever get bored in church? No? Wow. All right. Well, I'm sorry, everyone. You're welcome to elect Lucy as your next rector. But what right one does is it forces us to slow down just a little. Singing does that too. When you're singing, you have to slow down just a little. Because sometimes it's so easy to do just, I say, the Lord be with you. What do you say? Do you remember? The Lord be with you. Say. Yeah, and then we just kind of do the responses. You know what they are. But in right one, I say, the Lord be with you, and it's and with thy spirit, right? So throughout the whole service, you kind of have to slow down and pay attention. And that's really a big part of what Advent is about. As we heard in the epistle reading and the gospel reading, Advent's about trying to stay awake, to wake up, to be alert, to pay attention to what's going on in the world around you. Advent's about waking up. And now every household has different people when it comes to this. I'm supposed to sleep, I know, but you have to wake up eventually, don't you? So who in our household, who's the person who generally gets up first? Daddy. And normally I get up because who wakes me up? Lucy, right? And Mommy, so everyone's a little different with their mornings, right? I am not by nature a morning person. I am the sort of person, though, that I've learned that, like, by sheer force of will, if I can propel myself from the bed, then I kind of charge headlong into the day. Like, just boom, make it happen. Yes. Yes, you need to sleep to stay very healthy. That's right. Yes. Okay, I'm going to talk for a second now, okay? Okay. So you just wake up in the morning, right? I need to kind of push myself out of bed, but then I'm okay. Bethany's more of a ease her into the morning sort of person. I try really hard not to talk to her until she said coffee. These sorts of things. We're all a little different. I'd be curious out there, How many of you would say that you are straight up morning people? You hit the morning running. Oh, a good amount of you. Wonderful. How many of you are not morning people and you just kind of survive your way through the morning, right? It was funny. I asked that question at the early service, and would you know they're almost all morning people? Shocker. I don't know why I was surprised. But everyone has different kind of ways of waking up. And I think one of the tricks for me when I need to wake up is to start doing things. That helps me wake up. And I think what we hear in the readings for today is Jesus telling us what are the things that we can do to help us wake up in Advent. And one of the things that he talks about, we hear in the Hebrew Bible reading, where you have this beautiful image of beating swords into plowshares, right? And spears into pruning, taking these instruments of violence and turning them into instruments of agriculture, of feeding, gardening tools. And there's actually an organization out there run by Shane Claiborne, who's a wonderful activist and author. And what they do is they journey around the country and they do assault weapon buybacks. And then they take those assault weapons and they melt them down and they turn them into gardening tools that people can then get. How cool is that, right? I love that. And part of waking up, I think, as well, though, depends on how light it is. You know, for me, waking up in the morning in the summer, when the birds are chirping and lights chirping, that's a little bit easier than right now waking up when you open the shades and it's pitch black. Is it sometimes dark when it's time to go to the bus? Yeah, that's bonkers. It's hard to be awake when it's dark out. And I think that, I don't know about you all, but in this particular Advent, there's a lot of good in the world, but there's a lot of darkness in the world right now. A lot of places where it's hard to wake up, to feel like you could be attentive to what God and Jesus is doing, because the world looks a little dark. And that's hard. I think, what happened at Club Q, just horrible. You think this stuff is never going to end. And it breaks your heart, and my goodness, I'd love for someone to buy up all those assault weapons and turn them all into gardening tools. I think would not be a bad idea. But we have to try to stay awake in Advent, even when the world is dark. And my guess is probably you all don't have a lot of assault weapons at home. But I really think that the turning swords into plowshares is about more than that. Because the sword is, of course, not just an instrument of violence, it's an instrument of protection. And that's what most weapons come down to, kind of this felt need to protect yourself from some unknown other, right? And though probably a lot of us don't have a lot of assault weapons at home, we all have things we use to protect ourselves, right? To keep ourselves safe, whether it's piling up, money or power or prestige or showing everyone that I've got the right opinions. What, my love? Powers are not real? Yeah, because magic's not real. That's absolutely true. Except your daddy does have some magical powers, right?
Yeah, that's not real.
That's not real. Okay, I can't run anything by her. But we all have these things we use to protect ourselves, and it makes me wonder in Advent if perhaps one way of staying awake, even when the world is dark, is to ask ourselves, how can we take the things that we use to protect our lives, to make our lives comfortable and happy and safe from anything that might hurt us? How can we give those things up a little bit to bring more peace into this world, to bring more joy, to bring more safety to those who don't have a safe place, people for whom a bar is a sanctuary? That was supposed to be their safe place. What can we give up so that other people can have safety? Because I think that when we do these things, it wakes us up a little more to what God's already doing in the world. It wakes us up a little more. It helps us bring a little more light into places that seem dark and scary. One of my favorite things about having to wake up is I tend to like to wake up with music and song. I got that from my stepmom, Valor. She's not here. She's got a cold, but she would have enjoyed this. I would remember we'd be camping, and she'd wake us up with songs. It was horrible. Just horrible. Stuff like, rise and shine and give God the glory. And I'm like, listen, it is too early to give God glory. He's still sleeping, I'm pretty sure. I remember, or my mom would often, she would be the one who would do, to wake up sleepyheads, time to get out of bed. I think we all need to wake up a little bit more. And I don't think until we do wake up, this world is going to get a lot brighter. But I'll tell you what, if the church would wake up a little bit more, and if we would use what we have to start fires of God's light and God's goodness in the world, we could bring more light to dark places. We could help other people wake up to the truth that they're beloved exactly as they are. We could help other people wake up to the truth that they don't need to fight to protect themselves from some scary other, but that we're all okay, that God holds us all. There are so many things you can do to wake up in this world, and I hope in the season of Advent you try to find maybe just one or two ways that you can take what you have and burn it down, give it up, share it, spread it abroad, so that other people can start to find the light that they so desperately need. Amen. All right, I'll go back to our seats. Okay.